And there I am in Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon, at 3 o'clock in the morning, looking for 1,000 brown M&Ms to fill a brandy glass, or Ozzy wouldn't go on stage that night. So, Jeff Beck pops his head round the door and mentions there's a little sweet shop on the edge of town. So, we go, and it's closed. So there's me and Keith Moon and David Crosby breaking into this little sweet shop, right? Well, instead of a guard dog, they've got this bloody great big Bengal tiger. Well, I managed to take out the tiger with a can of mace. But the shop owner and his son, that's a different story altogether. I had to beat them to death with their own shoes. Nasty business, really. But sure enough, I got the M&Ms and Ozzy went on stage and did a great show.
Wow, that was
All right, well, it's officially December 2023. That means it's time to talk about December 1993, because this show is called 30 Years Ago this month. And this is wrapping up the second full year that I've been doing this show. But you guys seem to dig it, so and I dig it as well, and that's why I will be back next year for 1994. But that's in the future. We're talking about the past right now. December 1993. So December, musically speaking, is usually a pretty slow month because there's not really that many big releases. If there were any, they came out in November in time for people to do Christmas shopping. And so there's not a whole lot to talk about, but I have a show for you today. And an important event happened in December of 1993. Especially for me and people my age, around my age, who were still even interested in watching MTV, which I very much was. December 16th, 1993 was the airing of the Nirvana MTV Unplugged performance. And I clearly remember sitting in my living room watching this when it premiered that evening. But of course, that performance has gone down in history as, a lot of people's favorite Nirvana performance, which always baffles me because it's the most un-Nirvana performance I feel from a Nirvana fan. That's just me. But I love it. And it's probably my favorite of the Unplugged series, even above Alice in Chains, which is really fucking strong. But of course, we know now that it is kind of the last big thing Nirvana did before Kurt passed away. And so while I do like it, it is one of those things where when you're talking about the story of the band, this is kind of the scene right before the credits roll. And I don't go back to it a lot, but when I do, I always really enjoy it. So that happened in December of 1993. So now let's move on to the music charts for December of 1993. For the first week of 1993, the number one album in America, a holdover from last month, was Pearl Jam's Versus. The thing spent over a month at number one. Pretty fucking cool. And continuing the pretty fucking cool, in my opinion, the second and third week of December, the number one album in the country was Doggy Style by Snoop Doggy Dogg. He was known as, there was a doggy in there, Snoop Doggy Dogg. He later grew up and now he's full grown man dog. And for the fourth and final week of December and of 1993, can't complain about this one either, really. It's Music Box from Mariah Carey. I like hearing Mariah Carey sing, so there you go. And it's funny thinking about a Mariah Carey album coming out in December, none of us knowing that she would eventually drop one of the biggest Christmas songs of all time. But that hadn't happened yet in 1993. But now that brings us to everybody's favorite portion of the show.
The Hot 10.
That's right, the Hot 10. The 10 most popular songs on the Billboard charts for December of 1993. Now, I want to figure out a new way to do this next time, because an entire year of... I even annoy myself when I sing, so an entire year of that I think is enough. So I'm going to try to come up with a new spin next year. Don't hold me to that, but I'm going to try. First up, coming in at number 10, we have Bryan Adams, Rod Stewart, and Sting. And they did it all for one, all for love. And then at number 9, where have I seen that guy before? Bryan Adams is in here again with Please Forgive Me. I know not what I do, but everything I do it for you. And we did it all for one, all for love. Thank you, Bryan Adams. Good night, everybody. At number 8, we have Toni Braxton with Breathe Again. I don't remember that one at all. And number 7, another one I don't remember, Escape, Just Kicking It. And hanging in at number 6, DRS, or Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Gangsta Lean. This song's dedicated to my homies in the Gangsta Lean. At number 5, once again, we have Salt and Pepper with Shoop. I'm telling you, if my wife would ever come on to one of my shows, she could do this entire song, and it would be the best thing that's ever happened on my channel. At number 4, we have Miss Number 1 album in the country, Mariah Carey with Hero. I said it earlier, like, I enjoy Mariah Carey, and I like a lot of her songs. But for some reason, this is one that I've always just been like, can we skip this one? Still hanging out at the top of the charts, we've got Ace of Base. All that she wants is another baby. That's still all I know of that song. At number 2, dethroned from his top spot, Mr. Loaf. I would do... No, I can't. I would do anything for love, anything you've been dreaming of, but I just won't do that. And finally, the last number 1 of 1993, Janet Jackson with Again. God knows I do love you again. And that's it. Movies! All right, so I did get a comment, I think last month, where somebody was asking if I talk more about the movies that I actually wanted to watch and not just the ones that were number 1 in the box office. But luckily, one of them is what I was watching at the time. And it so happened that another movie that has been really big for me for my entire life came out in December of 1993. It wasn't number 1. But for the first week of December 1993, the number 1 movie was still Mrs. Doubtfire. But then for the second week of December 1993, a movie that I was very much looking forward to came out and was number 1 at the box office for 1 week. Wayne's World 2. Yeah, nowhere near as good as the first Wayne's World, but it's really grown on me over the years. And sometimes when I watch that movie, I feel like Mike Myers was intentionally leaning into really bad jokes. And I think that's the big difference between the two movies, really, is that the dumb to clever ratio of jokes is way more on the clever side for the first movie, and then it tips way more into the dumb side for the second movie. But some of those dumb jokes, man, I love them.
Okay, well, we'll take these home, run through them with a fine-tooth comb, cross the T's and dot the lowercase j's.
But at the time, I was a little disappointed by the movie. It really had to grow on me. And finally, for the third and fourth week, wrapping up 1993, a movie that has never had to grow on me because I've never even fucking seen it. The Pelican Brief with Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington. And that is absolutely all I know about it. Although I'm pretty sure that movie is responsible for part of one of my favorite Key and Peele sketches where Jordan Peele plays Ray Parker Jr. And he's talking about how he's done a lot more songs aside from just Ghostbusters. And he just goes into all these different songs for different movies and he gets to Pelican Brief.
Watch out behind you, they're trying to find you, Pelican Brief. It's getting legal, y'all.
Love it. Love it. I know it's not 1993, but fuck, Key and Peele is timeless. All right, now moving on to the movie that came out in December of 1993 that at the time, as a 14-year-old kid, I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed it, but it's one of those movies that over the years has become more and more important to me, I guess because I have gotten older. The movie is Grumpy Old Men with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, Burgess Meredith. Man, oh God, the movie is so fucking good. If you're one of my people, if you know what I'm talking about, I mean, the second one's great too, but that first one, it is fucking magic.
I tell you what's on my mind. It's butt cold out here, And I'm fresh out of beer.
And if you ever want to catch me tearing up during a movie, that scene where Walter Matthau is going to visit Jack Lemmon in the hospital and the lady has to ask him, are you friend or family? And he finally has to admit that he's a friend. I'm almost, woo! Woo! Excuse me a minute. Album releases! Basically nothing to talk about. December 14th, the Wayne's World 2 soundtrack came out. I didn't even buy this at the time. Years later, I've got a cassette copy of this because I'm like, oh, that's nifty. But I do like that it's one of those blue cassettes. What company is it? It's Reprise Records. I don't know if they were the ones that were doing the blue or if many labels did the blue. I don't know. I know what you're all saying. Please unfold the liner card. Please unfold it. Here we go. We're going to unfold this. Oh, look, there's Cassandra. We'll see her in a minute. Oh, look, you can order a Wayne's World hat if you want to. And then look, here you go. We got Aerosmith. We've got Cassandra and, the dudes and the songs. It's a whole lot of fucking classic rock, which makes it kind of boring compared to the first soundtrack. But it's got Dinosaur Jr. and Gin Blossoms, Aerosmith, obviously, but yeah, it's an okay soundtrack. We talked about it we did a Cranked and Ranked sidebar on the two Wayne's World movies, and we talked all about the soundtrack. I also love how on the back, it's letting you know, because they forgot to put YMCA on the track listing, and this is letting you know, just wanted you to know that YMCA is on here, because that was going to be the tipping point of like, I don't know if I want to buy this Wayne's World 2 soundtrack. Holy shit, it's got YMCA. Take my money. All right, so that was the only new release for December of 1993 that I felt like talking about. But before we go, I have one more segment that is unique to this particular episode, and that is albums I missed. First up, I don't know how I fucking missed this. In August 30th, Elements from Atheist. I mean, recently I got the reissues of the Atheist albums, and I was looking at the dates, and I went, wait, I don't remember talking about that in August. And I went back to the episode, and sure enough, I did not. Yeah, this was my introduction to Atheist, actually, when this came out. That's probably why when other people are like, oh, I hate where they went with that album, I'm like, this is where they were. and I love it. I love the weird, proggy, jazzy, off-the-wall qualities of some of the songs, but it's still fucking heavy. And, of course, as I say a lot, back then we were still just referring to this as a death metal album. Just a really fucking good one. On September 1st, according to the Sub Pop website, 4 from Seaweed, the 4th release, because I think it's only their second proper album, but they did 2 kind of mini album EP things prior to that, so I guess that's why it's called 4. Great fucking album. I love Seaweed. Very underrated 90s band in my opinion. And this, it's not their strongest album to me, but it's up there. I don't know. They didn't do anything that wasn't strong, so fuck, I don't know. This is a great 90s rock album. And speaking of great 90s rock albums, on October 19th, the debut album from Hum came out, Elektra 2000. Now, I didn't hear of this band until their next album came out a couple years later, but this one has, of course, I'm a fan, so this one has become one of those cool albums to hear, like, holy shit, this is where they came from, and they already fucking ruled. All right, so that's all of the albums I forgot, and that is almost the end of the episode of the year of 30 years ago this month, 1993. But just like last year, if you're still here, you get a little treat. Here we go. So this is my sophomore year of high school picture from 1993. I'm assuming it was probably taken in the fall of 1993. And it's because I have that shitty haircut. And that's because I had a mullet prior to that. A really lame mullet that I never wanted to put any product in, so it just was it was a mess. And so I went to get my haircut, and I just said, look, can you just make it all even? Not realizing that I was going to look like Dorothy fucking Hamill. But hey, the Primus pork soda shirt is a nice touch as well. He had pretty good taste, that dude. All right, so that wraps up 1993. Like I said, I will be back next month to start 1994. And that might be the last year that I do this, because once we get into 95, there's just less and less that has a lot of meaning to me. And so if it's just me spouting off release dates, I don't think that's very fun. You can find that somewhere else on YouTube. So but you're at least going to have me for the entire year of 2024 talking about 1994. As usual, thank you all very much for being here. There's still a couple more old head videos to come out before the end of the year, so I'll still be around. But when it comes to this, I will see you all next year.